Do you really need Serbian citizenship? The truth is that permanent residency gives you everything that you pretty much need to live a comfortable life here in Serbia. And today, we're going to clear up some misconceptions as to what Serbian permanent residency offers compared to Serbian citizenship. Now, if you're coming here as a foreigner and looking to stay in Serbia, more likely than not, you're going to have to go through the residency process. Now, that includes temporary residency, transitioned into permanent residency, and then potentially citizenship. Now, some of the concerns that people think that when you get permanent residency is that you don't have the right to live in Serbia as if you were to be a Serbian citizen. Now, we're going to clear up some of those misconceptions. And when you're listening to what I'm talking about, you may actually want to think about your current situation. Why am I actually seeking citizenship? Is permanent residency just enough for my situation? And do I actually need to go through all that extra paperwork to apply for citizenship? Now, let's step back to temporary residency where everybody starts off with. You will be issued temporary residency here for 3 years, depending on the basis that you are staying here in Serbia. And we help our clients with whatever way it might be, either through purchasing real estate, through setting up a business, through family reunification. And that family reunification differs from clients to clients. This could be a client that, or a descent by being married to someone who is a Serbian citizen, to having a spouse here that is already on a residency permit, or some other means as well. Now, you will be issued typically a 1-year temporary residency at every year, and you'd have to renew that. But again, it could be issued up to 3 years altogether. Now, once you are granted that temporary residency, you may be able to work depending on the scenario that you're here with. You may be able to study here in Serbia if that's the basis of your temporary residency. And every year when you go in for your renewal, you're going to have to show them that you are actually up to par with what reason you are here in Serbia. So if you are here under a study permit, you're going to have to show that you're actually going to school. If you're here setting up a business, you're going to actually show that you're running a legitimate business and did not just obtain temporary residency by opening up a business simply to obtain temporary residency. Now, what happens when your children are involved? Now, a lot of people are coming in here getting temporary residency, or they're not sure about their children. Your children can also come here based on your own temporary residency status. So if you come in here as a foreigner and you set up a business here and your business starts going and you want to bring in your children as well, well, then we can do that through a family reunification process. They don't actually have to set up a business themselves or purchase real estate for that matter. Since you are here, you are able to bring your children in here. Doesn't matter if it's 1, 3, 5, 7, you're able to bring those in. Of course, they all have to go through the same procedures of applying, paying the actual permits, getting their pictures taken, picking up their registration card, and also renewing on a yearly basis. Now, what happens when you finish your temporary residency and you transition to permanent residency? And this is where many of our clients are confused. They're thinking that now that I'm here as a permanent resident, that means that I can travel as much as I want. I don't have to remain here for 183 days, so on and so forth. But at the same time, that I am not granted all the privileges that a Serbian citizen is offer. Now, that is true up to a certain point. However, with permanent residency, you can live in Serbia indefinitely. That does not mean that you have to leave, that you will be deported if you don't maintain a certain type of lifestyle, if you maintain your studies, maintain your work permits, so on and so forth. Once you are issued permanent residency here, you are able to stay here in Serbia indefinitely. You are able to purchase property, you are able to open bank accounts, you are able to go apply to any job that you would like. You can, and that also bridges into my next point, is that you are able to work freely without having permits. So if you come into Serbia on a work permit, your temporary residency will be based on that work permit that you are given. However, once you transition into permanent residency, that work permit now no longer needs to be held up, and you can actually go and work at any place that you want, or even start your own business at that point instead. You can also then enroll your children into schools. That is also allowed when you are a temporary resident as well. However, your children also must have temporary residency as well when it comes to that. But then you have a broader range of what schools they are able to attend, and you have also all the privileges of entering the healthcare system and all the other social services that Serbia has to offer you, just like they do with all the other citizens here in Serbia. Now, the day-to-day that happens as a Serbian permanent resident, you can do pretty much everything that you have. The only difference is that you have no voting rights and you get no Serbian passport. And some of our clients say, well, the only reason I want the passport is that, in my mind, is that I do not have the right to stay in Serbia indefinitely. And that is 100% wrong. If you are a Serbian permanent resident and your whole idea of moving to Serbia is to just simply be able to live in Serbia, and there's nothing wrong with that, then of course, getting to permanent residency and having that permanent residency is just enough, and you do not have to move forward to the citizenship process. Now, what happens what's the difference to compared to citizenship? Now you have a lifetime status of being a Serbian citizenship. You have the voting rights, and you are able to participate in the political system as well. And you are issued a passport. And that is where some of our clients are like, well, the passport I currently have now is one of the weakest ones that we have, and we would like something stronger. And in that scenario, then it would make sense to apply for Serbian citizenship. However, when applying for Serbian citizenship, you must apply while you are a permanent resident. You cannot apply as a temporary resident. And typically, before you get any sort of approval as a permanent residency or as a permanent resident, you must maintain at least 3 years here from our experience, from our clients. A minimum of 3 years as a permanent residency before they will even consider you as consider your application for citizenship. Now, even after 3 years, you can apply, and the key word is apply there. And just because you apply does not mean that you are, one, granted citizenship right away just because you applied, and two, that they will give it to you because you applied. It is 100% sole discretion of the government of Serbia to give you Serbian citizenship, if and when it will be. Some clients will have to be here for 3 years, some will have to be here for 8 years, some will have to be here for 12 years, and some will never get it. And the thing that you have to understand is that you have to actually participate into being a citizen here in Serbia. The more that you do for the country, the better it is for your application process. You cannot just simply say, hey, listen, I'm going to become a permanent resident. resident, I am going to live here on my own terms, and they'll give me my citizenship. That's not how it happens. You have to actually do things. So learning the Serbian language will help you with applying for your citizenship. Doing good things for the country, potentially coming in here, working a job, opening up a company, hiring many people here in Serbia will strengthen your application for citizenship. Doing some charity work in Serbia also will help your application. If you embed yourself in the culture here in Serbia and into the society, then you can also get people to write recommendation letters, which we can help put your package together and apply for citizenship on that end as well. Now, when you do get citizenship here in Serbia, you will be given recognition to worldwide countries. You'll get easier EU pathways as we have a pretty good strong ties with all the EU countries. Many of the Serbian citizens travel to the EU countries for work and then come back with that as well. And so another way that you can also obtain Serbian citizenship is simply by descent, which we've helped numerous clients. Actually, that is one of our biggest go-to service right now for many individuals that are coming in from the West. Does not matter what country, is that they're like, hey, listen, my parents were born in Serbia. We don't like what's happening right now in the West, and we want it for a backup plan. We want it for our daughter who, is going to school in Europe, and just in case something happens here in North America, that they have a backup plan. Or we want to give it to our children because we don't know what the future holds for our children, and so getting them that Serbian citizenship is going to help. The other way is also through marriage. So if you marry someone who is already Serbian descent or Serbian citizen, you can also apply for Serbian citizenship. Now, you still will have to go through the temporary residency process and get into permanent residency, and then you will have to apply after that as well. And now it's up to you, depending on what your scenario is. If you just wish to live in Serbia, having that permanent residency is just enough, gives you everything that you would need as someone who's looking to live here. However, if you are looking for that citizenship process, it may take a longer time to get there. If you have any questions when it comes to any of these processes, feel free to reach out to us at relocationserbia.com, book in a consultation, and we can look at your scenario and see how you can obtain those pathways as well. And one of the other ways that we've also seen clients that have tried to get temporary residency here is through common law marriages. So, for instance, you are a significant other of someone who is a Serbian citizen, but you are not actually married to them. So what you'd have to do is come up with an application, which is something that we've helped with our clients, and then apply through a common law path, which is much different than if you were to be setting up through a business, through marriage, or any of those other pathways that I mentioned earlier. So that is another one that you are always able to pursue in your pathway to trying to live in Serbia. Now, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help.